The Galactic Concorde had watched Earth for almost 100 years. They had placed small satellites near the planet. They had sent invisible probes into the atmosphere. They had studied humans the way a scientist studies insects under glass. 217 species made up the Concorde. Some were ancient. Some had traveled between stars for millions of years. They had seen countless species rise and fall. They had watched worlds burn and civilizations crumble. To them, humanity was nothing special. Just another young species crawling around on a small blue planet, fighting among themselves over land and resources. The Concorde classified Earth as a pre-emergence world. This meant humans were not ready for space. They were too primitive, too violent, too divided. The great powers of the galaxy did not see humans as a threat. They saw them as entertainment. Every few cycles, the Concorde would broadcast documentaries about Earth to the rest of the galaxy. Trillions of beings watched these programs. They laughed at human wars. They found human emotions amusing. They bet on which nations would destroy each other first. "Look at them," a famous Concorde commentator once said during a broadcast. "They have nuclear weapons pointed at each other. They cannot even share their own planet. They will destroy themselves within a century. We do not need to do anything." The galaxy agreed. Humans were not worth worrying about. Then the Velthari Dominion made a request. The Velthari were an insectoid species. They stood 8 feet tall. Their bodies were covered in black armor that grew from their own flesh. They had 4 arms, each ending in claws that could cut through metal. Their eyes were red and showed no mercy. The Velthari were conquerors. For 10,000 years, they had expanded their territory across the galaxy. They took what they wanted. They crushed anyone who stood in their way. The Concorde tolerated them because they were useful. When a species caused problems, the Velthari would handle it. Now, the Velthari wanted Earth. "The planet has good resources," said High Commander Tyrith Vyre to the Concorde Council. He was the leader of the Velthari military. His voice was cold and sharp, like breaking ice. "The native species is weak. We request permission to cleanse the world and claim it for the Dominion." The Council barely discussed it. Earth was just another primitive world. Humans had no allies. They had no voice in galactic matters. They did not even know the Concorde existed. "Permission granted," said the Council leader. "Do as you wish." Tyrith Vor smiled. At least, he made the expression that passed for a smile among his kind. His mandibles clicked together in satisfaction. "It will be done within 1 planetary rotation," he said. "I will make it quick. These humans are beneath us." The Concorde decided to broadcast the invasion live. They expected it would be over in hours. Some species even organized viewing parties. They prepared food and drinks to enjoy while watching humanity die. On Earth, it was an ordinary Tuesday. Children went to school. People drove to work. Lovers held hands in parks. Families ate dinner together. No one looked up at the sky. No one knew that death was coming. The Velthari fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel just beyond Earth's moon. 12 warships. Each one was 5 kilometers long. Each one carried enough firepower to glass a continent. They did not send a warning. They did not demand surrender. They did not give humans a chance to respond. They simply opened fire. Plasma rained down from the sky. It fell on Tokyo and New York. It fell on London and Mumbai. It fell on Sao Paulo and Cairo. It fell on Lagos and Sydney. 12 cities across 6 continents burned at the exact same moment. The strikes lasted 47 minutes. When they stopped, 7 million humans were dead. Across the galaxy, trillions watched. Some cheered. Some placed bets on how long until humans surrendered. Some simply watched with cold curiosity, the way one might watch a nature documentary about prey animals being hunted. "The humans appear to be in shock," said a Concord commentator. "Their communications are chaotic. Their military forces are scrambling, but have no clear target. We expect formal surrender within hours." But the surrender did not come. Instead, something strange happened. Something the galaxy had never seen before. The humans stopped fighting each other. Within hours of the attack, old enemies were shaking hands. Nations that had pointed nuclear weapons at each other for decades suddenly stood together. Political differences vanished. Religious conflicts were set aside. Every single human seemed to understand the same simple truth at the same moment. They were not alone in the universe. And the universe wanted them dead. World leaders appeared on screens around the planet. They spoke different languages but said the same thing. "We will not surrender. We will not break. We will fight." The Galactic Concord found this amusing. "How touching," said one commentator. "The prey animals think they can resist. They have no space fleet. Their weapons cannot reach orbit. Their fastest ships would take decades to reach the nearest star. What do they think they can do?" High Commander Tyreth Vire was not worried. He had destroyed hundreds of species. He knew how this worked. First came the defiant speeches. Then came the desperate attacks. Then came the begging. Then came the silence. He gave the order to prepare the ground invasion. 200,000 Velthari warriors began loading into drop pods. Their plasma rifles were charged. Their armor was polished. They were ready to finish what the bombardment had started. "We will land in 3 of their planetary cycles," Tyreth Vire announced to his officers. "By then, their spirit will be broken. We will hunt the survivors for sport. This world will belong to the Dominion." His officers clicked their mandibles in approval. This was going to be easy. Far below, on the burning planet, Admiral Chen Wei stood in an underground bunker. She was 62 years old. She had gray hair and tired eyes. She had served her country for 40 years. Now she served her entire species. She looked at the screens showing the devastation. 7 million dead. Entire cities reduced to ash. Families erased in an instant. Her hands did not shake. Her voice did not waver. "Get me the presidents, prime ministers, and generals of every nation," she said. "Tell them Operation Prometheus is now active. Tell them it is time to show the universe what humanity can do." Deep beneath mountains all across Earth, lights began to turn on in facilities that officially did not exist. Scientists who had worked in secret for 30 years finally received the call they had been waiting for. Humanity had been preparing for this moment, not because they knew the Velthari were coming, but because humans always prepared for the worst. The galaxy thought the war was already over. They thought they were watching the death of a species. They were wrong. They were watching its birth. High Commander Tyreth Vire stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Hunger. Through the massive windows, he could see Earth floating in the darkness of space. Smoke still rose from the burned cities. The planet looked wounded. Broken. He expected the humans to surrender at any moment. Every species did eventually. Some took hours. Some took days. But they all broke in the end. It was simply a matter of time. "Status report," he commanded. "The humans have stopped all external communications," said his intelligence officer. "Their satellites have gone dark. We are detecting massive movement across their surface, but we cannot determine what they are doing." Tyreth Vire clicked his mandibles thoughtfully. "They are hiding, running to holes in the ground like frightened animals. It does not matter. When we land, we will dig them out." Across the galaxy, the Concord broadcast continued. Commentators analyzed every piece of information they could gather. Experts predicted how long humanity would last. Most said days. "A few optimistic souls," said Weeks. "The humans appear to be in a state of organized panic," said one analyst. "They are moving military equipment to central locations. They are evacuating civilians from coastal areas. Standard pre-surrender behavior. We expect white flags within 48 hours. But something strange was happening on Earth. Something the galaxy could not see because they were not looking closely enough. The humans were not panicking. They were preparing dot in the underground bunker beneath the Himalayas. Admiral Chen Wei addressed the leaders of every major nation. Presidents, prime ministers, generals, and admirals appeared on screens that covered an entire wall. For the first time in human history, every powerful nation was working together. "Let me be clear," Admiral Chen said. "We cannot win a conventional war against these creatures. Their technology is hundreds of years ahead of ours. Their weapons make our missiles look like fireworks. Their ships are faster, stronger, and more numerous than anything we can build." She paused. The room was silent. On the screens, world leaders waited for her to continue. "But we have something they do not expect. 31 years ago, a small craft crashed in the Pacific Ocean. We recovered it. We studied it. We learned from it." She pressed a button. The screens changed to show blueprints, photographs, and technical diagrams. "Project Prometheus," she said. "For 3 decades, we have been preparing for this day. Not because we knew it would come, but because we knew it could come. We have built weapons in secret. We have hidden them in plain sight. The enemy thinks we are helpless. They are wrong." In Moscow, President Volkov leaned forward. "What exactly do we have?" Admiral Chen smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. "We have kinetic bombardment platforms hidden among our communication satellites. We have nuclear missiles modified with alien shield penetration technology. We have EMP weapons that can disable their electronics. And we have something else. Something they will never expect." She changed the screen again. This time, it showed massive structures hidden inside mountains, underwater, and even on the dark side of the moon. "We have ships," she said. "Crude, ugly, barely functional by their standards. But they fly. And they have weapons that the galaxy banned 1,000 years ago because they were too destructive." The leaders stared at the screens in shock. Most of them had never known these facilities existed. Their predecessors had kept a secret, passing it down through generations. "Why were we not told?" demanded the Prime Minister of India. "Because secrets are only safe when few people know them," Admiral Chen replied. "But now everyone needs to know, because we need everyone to play their part." She outlined the plan. It was desperate. It was dangerous. It required perfect timing and absolute cooperation between nations that had been enemies for centuries, but it could work not far above Earth. Tirith Var grew impatient. 2 days had passed since the bombardment. The humans had not surrendered. Their silence was beginning to annoy him. Why do they not beg? He asked his advisors. Every other species begs. They send messages. They offer tribute. They plead for their lives. These humans send nothing. "Perhaps they do not know how to communicate with us," suggested one advisor. "They are primitive. They may not understand that resistance is pointless." "Then we will teach them," Tirith Var said. "Prepare the drop pods. We land tomorrow. I want this planet secured within 1 week." The Concord broadcast showed preparations for the invasion. Military experts from across the galaxy analyzed the Velthury strategy. They praised Tirith Var's patience. They admired his tactical planning. "The Velthury are being cautious," one expert explained. "They could have invaded immediately, but they chose to let the humans weaken themselves first. It is a classic strategy. Let fear do the work before the warriors even land." What the expert did not know was that the humans were not weakening. They were getting stronger. Underground factories worked around the clock. Every weapon Earth had was being modified with technology from the alien probe. Scientists who had spent their lives studying the craft finally had unlimited resources. They did not sleep. They barely ate. They worked. On the surface, civilians were evacuated from cities. But not because they were hiding. They were clearing the battlefield. The humans knew the Valkyrie would land in population centers. They wanted them to. They wanted to fight where they knew every street, every building, every shadow. Soldiers trained in guerrilla tactics. Experts in explosives taught civilians how to make bombs from household items. Snipers practiced shooting at targets designed to look like Valkyrie warriors. The entire planet was becoming a trap. In a small town in Texas, an old man named Robert Mitchell listened to the radio. He was 87 years old. He had fought in wars decades ago. When the call came for volunteers, he did not hesitate. "I am too old to run," he said to the recruitment officer. "But I can still shoot. Give me a rifle and point me at the enemy." Stories like his were repeated millions of times across the planet. Grandparents and grandchildren trained together. Teachers became soldiers. Doctors became medics. Everyone had a role. On the moon, hidden in a crater that never saw sunlight, final preparations were being made. Technicians checked systems that had been dormant for decades. Engineers powered up engines that had never been tested in combat. The ships were ugly. They looked like flying boxes covered in weapons. They had no elegance, no beauty. They were built for one purpose: to destroy. Admiral Chun received a message from the lunar base. "Prometheus fleet is ready, awaiting your command." She looked at the message for a long moment. Then she typed her reply, "Hold position. Do not reveal yourselves until my signal. Let them come. Let them think they are winning. Then we show them who we really are." On the Eternal Hunger, Tyrus Vyre made his final announcement before the invasion. "Tomorrow, we claim this world for the Dominion. Tomorrow, these humans learn their place in the universe. Tomorrow, they die." His warriors cheered. Their claws scratched against the metal floor in anticipation. Below them, 7 billion humans waited in silence. Not the silence of fear. Not the silence of surrender. The silence before thunder. The sky burned with falling metal. 200,000 Valkyrie warriors dropped from orbit in pods that glowed red from atmospheric friction. They fell like angry stars toward the cities below. Each pod carried 5 warriors. Each warrior carried enough firepower to destroy a small army. Tyrus Vyre watched the invasion from his flagship. On his screens, he could see his forces landing in 37 major cities across the planet. New York, Beijing, London, Moscow, Delhi. The drop pods hit the ground and burst open like metal flowers. His warriors emerged, plasma rifles ready, mandibles clicking with excitement. "Establish perimeters," he ordered through the communication system. "Secure the major population centers. Kill anyone who resists. Capture anyone useful. You have 26 hours." Across the galaxy, trillions watched the broadcast. Betting pools closed on humanity's surrender time. The average guess was 16 hours. Some species prepared celebration feasts. The Valkyrie had won again. As expected, for the first 3 hours, everything went according to plan. The Valkyrie moved through empty streets. Buildings were abandoned. Vehicles sat silent. It seemed the humans had fled, just as predicted. Warrior squads reported minimal resistance. A few scattered gunshots here and there. Nothing their armor could not handle. Then the trap closed. In New York, a Valkyrie squad of 20 warriors marched down Fifth Avenue. Their commander was a veteran of 30 campaigns. He had never lost a single soldier under his command. He heard a click beneath his foot. The explosion killed him instantly. Buried charges erupted the length of the street. Buildings that seemed empty suddenly came alive with gunfire. Humans appeared from windows, from sewers, from rubble. They fired everything they had. Standard bullets bounced off Valkyrie armor. But these were not standard bullets. They had been coated with a chemical compound derived from the alien probe. It ate through the exoskeletons like acid. 16 of the 20 warriors died in the first minute. Similar scenes played out across the world. In Beijing, entire underground tunnels collapsed onto advancing squads. In London, bridges exploded under the weight of Valkyrie transport vehicles. In Moscow, buildings rigged with explosives fell onto warrior formations. The humans had turned their cities into killing grounds. Tyreth Vio received the first reports with confusion, then with anger, then with something he had never felt before: doubt. How is this possible? He demanded. These creatures have primitive technology. They should not be able to harm us. Commander, his intelligence officer said carefully, it appears the humans have modified their weapons. The ammunition contains an unknown corrosive agent. Our armor is vulnerable. On the ground, the battle turned into something the Valkyrie had never experienced. They were warriors. They fought with honor. They faced their enemies in open combat. They did not understand humans at all. Humans did not fight with honor. They fought to win. A Valkyrie warrior would challenge an enemy face to face. A human would wait in a dark building for 6 hours without moving, then put a bullet through the warrior's eye slit when he walked past. A Valkyrie warrior would announce himself before combat. A human child would walk up to a squad, cry for help, and trigger the bomb strapped to her dead father's body. A Valkyrie warrior would retreat when wounded. A human soldier with both legs blown off would crawl toward the enemy with a grenade in each hand, screaming hatred until his final breath. The galaxy watched in growing horror. "What are we seeing?" whispered a Concord commentator. His voice trembled. "These humans, they do not stop. We have documented 17 instances of mortally wounded humans continuing to fight. One subject crawled 400 meters with a severed limb to detonate explosives at a Valkyrie position. This is not normal. This is not rational. It was not rational. But it was human. In Paris, a group of elderly resistance fighters held a bridge for 19 hours. They had hunting rifles and homemade explosives. They faced 200 Valkyrie warriors. When they finally fell, they had killed 63 of them. In Tokyo, subway tunnels became death mazes. Humans knew every turn, every passage, every shadow. Valkyrie squads entered and never came out. In a small village in Afghanistan, farmers who had spent decades fighting invaders did what they had always done. They made the mountains themselves into weapons. Avalanches buried entire Valkyrie columns. Tyreth Vire was losing warriors at an unacceptable rate. After 24 hours, he had lost 30,000 troops. 30,000. In a single day, against a species that did not even have space travel. Orbital bombardment, he ordered. Destroy any position that shows resistance. I do not care about the infrastructure. Blast them all. His weapons officers obeyed. Plasma rained down on human positions. Thousands more died. Tens of thousands. The humans did not stop. They had expected this. They had planned for it. For every position destroyed, 2 more revealed themselves. For every human killed, 10 more appeared. They came out of bunkers and basements and hidden tunnels. They came with fury in their eyes and weapons in their hands. Private James Cooper was 22 years old. He'd been a college student 2 weeks ago. Now he was a soldier. He crouched in the ruins of what had been a shopping mall in Chicago. His squad was down to 3 people. They were surrounded. A Veltari warrior appeared through the smoke. It was huge. Its red eyes scanned for targets. Its plasma rifle hummed with deadly energy that James did not hesitate. He charged. The warrior's first shot took his left arm off at the shoulder. The second shot missed because James had rolled under it. He came up with a knife in his remaining hand, a knife coated with the corrosive compound. He buried it in the warrior's neck joint. They fell together. James kept stabbing even as the light left his eyes. When his squad mates found him, his hand was still gripping the knife. The warrior was dead. So was James, but he had stories like this multiplied by the thousands. The Concord broadcasts became funeral dirges. Species that had celebrated humanity's impending extinction now watched in uneasy silence. This should not be possible, an ancient scholar said on the broadcast. The Veltari are one of the most powerful military forces in the galaxy. These humans have no fleet, no advanced technology, no allies. They should have fallen in hours. Instead, they are making the Veltari bleed. I do not understand. I have studied 1,000 species. I have never seen anything like this. On day 2 of the invasion, HFY received a message from the Dominion homeworld. His superiors wanted an update. They expected to hear a victory. Instead, he had to admit the truth. The invasion had stalled. His forces were taking unsustainable casualties. The humans were fighting with a ferocity that defied all tactical models. Request reinforcements, his superior said. We will send another fleet. It will take 40 cycles for reinforcements to arrive, HFY replied. I am not certain we can hold our positions that long. There was silence on the communication channel. The Veltari Dominion had conquered hundreds of worlds. They had never failed. They could not fail now. Not against primitive humans. Find a way, his superiors ordered. Victory is mandatory. HFY ended the communication. He looked at the screens, showing his forces struggling on the surface. He looked at the casualty reports that grew longer every hour. He looked at the small blue planet that was supposed to be an easy conquest. For the first time in his long military career, he wondered if he had made a terrible mistake. Far below, Admiral Chun Wei received her own reports. They were brutal. Millions of humans had died. Cities were burning. But the Veltari were dying too. And they were dying faster than they could afford. How long until Prometheus is ready? She asked. 6 hours, came the reply. She nodded. Tell our people to hold. Just 6 more hours. Then we stop defending. Then we attack. The galaxy was about to learn what happened when you backed humanity into a corner. Admiral Chun Wei stood in the command center beneath the Himalayas. Screens covered every wall. They showed the battle raging across the planet. They showed the death toll rising every second. They showed her people dying, but they also showed something else. A countdown timer. 0 hours, 4 minutes, and 23 seconds. 4 minutes and 23 seconds until Project Prometheus went live. For 31 years, humanity's greatest secret had waited in darkness. Hidden satellites, buried weapons platforms, ships constructed in secret lunar bases, technology reverse-engineered from an alien craft. All of it designed for a day that might never come. That day had come. All platforms report ready, said the technician beside her. Kinetic systems charged. Nuclear packages armed. Shield penetration modifications confirmed. We are ready on your command, Admiral. Chun looked at the screens one more time. In Beijing, soldiers fought hand-to-hand with Veltari warriors in the rubble of ancient temples. In New York, the Statue of Liberty stood defiant among burning ruins, bullet holes in her copper skin. In Mumbai, children too young to understand death threw rocks at alien invaders. Her people were dying, but they were not surrendering. "Begin the operation," she said. The countdown reached 0. Across Earth's orbit, satellites that everyone thought were communication relays suddenly changed. Panels slid open. Weapons emerged. 300 kinetic bombardment platforms locked onto Valkyrie positions on the ground. The first rods dropped. Tungsten projectiles the size of telephone poles fell from space. They carried no explosives. They did not need any. At 15 kilometers per second, kinetic energy alone turned them into weapons of terrible destruction. Each rod hit with the force of a small nuclear bomb. Valkyrie landing zones vanished. Drop pod clusters were erased. Forward operating bases became craters. In 30 seconds, Earth satellites killed more Valkyrie warriors than the ground forces had managed in 2 days. Tyreth Vio watched his tactical display with disbelief. Red indicators multiplied across the planet. Unit after unit went dark. Entire battalions simply ceased to exist. "What is happening?" he demanded. "Where is this fire coming from?" "The satellites," his sensor officer said. His voice was shaking. "The human satellites. They were weapons. They were always weapons. We never knew." Before Tyreth Vire could respond, the second wave came. From hidden silos across the planet, from submarines lurking in deep waters, from aircraft that had been circling at high altitude for days, missiles launched. Not ordinary missiles. These had been modified with alien technology. They carried warheads specifically designed to penetrate Valkyrie shields. The Valkyrie fleet had 12 ships. Within minutes, that number dropped to 8. Then 6. Then 4. "Impossible," Tyreth Vire whispered. "Their missiles should not be able to touch us. Our shields are impenetrable." "They have adapted," his first officer said grimly. "They learned from our technology. They found our weakness. Commander, we must retreat. We cannot survive this." Retreat. The word tasted like poison in Tyreth Vire's mouth. He had never retreated. No Valkyrie commander had retreated in 3,000 years. But as he watched another ship explode on his tactical display, he understood the truth. He was losing. The Galactic Concord broadcasts had gone silent. Trillions of beings across the galaxy stared at their screens in shock. The commentators had no words. The experts had no explanations. Everything they knew about warfare, about primitive species, about the natural order of the universe, was being torn apart before their eyes. A species that should have been helpless was destroying one of the galaxy's most feared military powers. Then the moon spoke. On the dark side of Earth's moon, in a crater that never saw sunlight, hangar doors opened. Ships emerged. 12 vessels, crude and angular, and covered in weapons. They were ugly by galactic standards. They had none of the elegant curves of Concorde designs. They looked like flying fortresses made by engineers who cared nothing for beauty. But they flew. And they had weapons the galaxy had banned centuries ago. The Prometheus fleet accelerated toward the Valkyrie. Tyreth Vire saw them coming on his sensors. For a moment, he did not understand what he was seeing. Humans did not have ships. Humans could not have ships. It was impossible. "Open fire," he commanded. "Destroy those vessels immediately." The remaining Valkyrie ships turned their weapons on the approaching fleet. Plasma bolts streaked across space. Several struck their targets. The human ships did not stop. Their hulls were layered with ablative armor based on alien designs. They could take hits that would destroy conventional vessels. They absorbed damage and kept coming. And then they returned fire. The weapons the galaxy had banned were called Cascade Disruptors. They did not just destroy ships. They tore apart the molecular bonds of matter itself. One hit could cause chain reactions that spread through entire vessel structures. The Velthary flagship, Eternal Hunger, took a direct hit to its engineering section. Tirith Vior felt his ship shudder. Alarms screamed. Screens flickered. The lights went red. Cascade reaction in progress. The damage control officer shouted. I cannot stop it. The ship is breaking apart from the inside. Evacuation pods, Tirith Vior ordered. All personnel abandoned ship. He moved toward his own escape pod as his beautiful flagship died around him. Bulkheads crumpled. Corridors collapsed. Warriors who had followed him for decades vanished in flashes of disintegrating matter. The Eternal Hunger broke apart in Earth's orbit. Debris scattered across the void. Of the 12,000 Velthary aboard, fewer than 200 reached escape pods. Tirith Vior was one of them. As his pod tumbled through space, he watched the battle through a small window. The human fleet was systematic, ruthless. They did not accept surrenders. They did not show mercy. They destroyed every Velthary ship with cold efficiency. In 6 hours, it was over. The mighty Velthary invasion fleet was gone. 12 warships reduced to floating debris. 200,000 warriors killed in space or on the ground. The greatest military disaster in Velthary history. And it had been inflicted by a species that had never left its own planet before. Admiral Chen Wei addressed the planet from her command center. Her face appeared on every screen on Earth. Her voice was carried by every radio. She was tired. She was grieving. She had lost friends and family in the battle, but her voice was strong. People of Earth, she said, we have won the first battle. The enemy fleet is destroyed. The invasion is broken. But this war is not over. There are more of them out there. They will send more ships. They will try again. We must be ready. She paused. Her expression hardened. And before they send their fleets, I have a message for them. A message for every species in the galaxy that watched our people die and did nothing. That placed bets on our extinction. That laughed as our cities burned. She looked directly into the camera. Directly at the Galactic Concord. Directly at the trillions who had treated humanity's destruction as entertainment. You watched 7 million of us die. You approved our extermination like you were signing a permit. You thought we were prey. You thought we were entertainment. You were wrong. We are humanity. We do not forgive. We do not forget. And we are coming. The transmission ended. Across the galaxy, there was silence. A terrible, frightened silence. Species that had dominated the stars for millions of years suddenly felt something they had not felt in eons. Fear. In his escape pod drifting through the debris of his fleet. Tirith Vior stared at the blue planet below. He had conquered 100 worlds. He had destroyed civilizations older than his own species. He had never been afraid. He was afraid now. What had they awakened? 3 months passed. Earth buried its dead. 17 million humans had died in the invasion and the battle that followed. Every nation had lost someone. Every family had a story of grief. Memorial walls stretched for kilometers in the burned cities. Names carved in stone. Faces printed on banners. A planet united in mourning. But humans did not just mourn. They built. The secret was out now. The hidden factories, the lunar shipyards, the weapons programs that had operated in shadow for decades. All of it was revealed. All of it was expanded. Every resource on Earth was directed toward one goal. Never again. Admiral Chen Wei stood before the United Earth Council. This was a new government formed in the weeks after the battle. Every nation had surrendered some sovereignty to create it. There was no more American or Chinese or Russian. There was only human. The Velthary Dominion controls 47 star systems, she said. They have a fleet of over 300 warships. Their homeworld has a population of 9 billion. If we simply wait, they will rebuild their forces and return. This time, with enough ships to glass our entire planet. The council members listened in silence. They knew what was coming. We cannot wait for them, Admiral Chun continued. We must strike first. We must show the galaxy that attacking humanity has consequences. We must make them afraid to ever threaten us again. The vote was unanimous. 6 weeks later, the Prometheus fleet was ready. 22 ships now, not 12. Human factories had been working at impossible speed. The vessels were still ugly, still crude by galactic standards. But they were deadly. Admiral Chun herself would lead the mission. She refused to send others where she would not go herself. Before departure, she visited the memorial wall in what had been New York City. She found her daughter's name, her son-in-law's name, her 2 grandchildren's names, ages 7 and 4. She touched the cold stone. I will make them pay, she whispered. I promise. The fleet jumped out faster than light travel still felt strange to human bodies. The universe seemed to fold around the ships. Stars blurred into lines. Space itself bent and twisted. Then they arrived. The Velthari homeworld was called Krethis Prime. It was a harsh world of black mountains and red deserts. 9 billion Velthari lived there. They had never been attacked. They had never needed to defend themselves. They were conquerors, not defenders. When the human fleet appeared in their orbit, they did not understand what they were seeing. Unknown vessels detected, a Velthari sensor operator reported. Configuration does not match any known species. They are broadcasting. Admiral Chun's voice came through every channel on the planet. People of the Velthari Dominion, 3 months ago, your forces attacked our world without warning. You killed 7 million of our people in the first hour. You intended to exterminate our entire species. You failed. She paused. On the bridge of her flagship, renamed the 7 Million, she looked at the alien world on her screens. We are not here to do what you did to us. We are not murderers of children. We will not bomb your cities. We will not slaughter your civilians. But we will ensure you never threaten us again. The Prometheus fleet opened fire on military targets, shipyards, defense platforms, weapons factories, spaceports, anything that could be used to build. Another invasion fleet. The Velthari scrambled to respond. But their defensive forces were minimal. Their warships were scattered across their empire. They had never imagined they would need to defend their homeworld. In 12 hours. Humanity destroyed every military installation on Krethis Prime. Not a single civilian was harmed. Not a single residential area was touched. The precision was surgical. Perfect. Then came the demand. High Commander Tyreth Vire, Admiral Chun broadcast. We know you survived. We tracked your escape pod. You are on this planet. You will surrender yourself to human custody within 6 hours. If you do not, we will begin targeting government facilities. The choice is yours. Tyreth Vire had spent 3 months hiding. He had been disgraced. His fleet was destroyed. His reputation was ruined. Other Velthari looked at him with contempt. He was the commander who had lost to Primitivs. Now the primitives had come to his homeworld. He could have run. He could have hidden deeper. But he was still Velthari. He still had some honor left. He surrendered. Human soldiers took him aboard to 7 Million. He was placed in a holding cell designed for beings much larger than humans. Through the transparent walls, he could see human crew members walking past. They were so small, so fragile, looking. So terrifying. Admiral Chun visited him once. Why? Tyreth Vire asked. You could have destroyed our cities. You could have killed billions. You chose not to. Why? Chun looked at him for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was tired but firm. Because we are not you, she said. We kill when we must. We destroy when we have no choice. But we do not murder for sport. We do not exterminate species for resources. We are better than that. She turned to leave, then stopped. My grandchildren were 4 and 7 years old. They died in the first bombardment. I will never forgive you, but I will not become you. That is the difference between your people and mine. She left. HFY sat alone in his cell, trying to understand a species that could be so violent and so merciful at the same time. The trial was broadcast across the galaxy. The Galactic Concord watched as HFY was judged by a human court. The evidence was overwhelming. The verdict was never in doubt. Guilty of crimes against humanity. Guilty of unprovoked aggression. Guilty of mass murder. The sentence was life imprisonment, not death. Humans did not execute prisoners of war. Another mercy, the Valkyrie would not have shown Dot after the trial. Admiral Chun addressed the galaxy. The broadcast was carried on every Concord channel. Trillions watched. To the species of the Galactic Concord, she began. You watched us die. You approved our extermination. You placed bets on how quickly we would fall. You thought we were animals, prey, entertainment. She stood before a window showing Earth from orbit. The scars of the bombardment were still visible. Burned patches on green and blue. We do not want war with the Concord. We are not conquerors. We do not seek to rule other species. We want only to live in peace, to explore the stars, to find our place in this vast universe. Her expression hardened. But we will not be victims. Never again. We have shown what happens when humanity is threatened. The Valkyrie sent a fleet to destroy us. We sent their fleet back to them in pieces. We came to their homeworld. We could have done to them what they did to us. We chose mercy. Remember that. We chose mercy. She leaned closer to the camera. The next species that attacks Earth will not receive mercy. The next fleet that threatens our people will be destroyed without hesitation. We have weapons the galaxy fears. We have the will to use them. Come to us as friends, and you will find us the most generous species you have ever known. Come to us as enemies. She smiled. It was cold and hard and promised violence. And the galaxy will watch you burn. The broadcast ended. In the months that followed, the Galactic Concord formally recognized Earth as a sovereign power. The human exclusion zone was established, a 50-light-year radius around, so where no alien vessel could enter without permission. Ambassadors arrived carefully, nervously. They brought gifts and treaties and offers of alliance. Humans received them politely, but made no promises. Trust would take time. The Valkyrie Dominion collapsed within a year. Other species, seeing their weakness, turned on them. Worlds they had conquered for millennia broke free. The empire that had terrorized half the galaxy crumbled because one small species on one small planet had refused to die. Historians across the galaxy studied what had happened. They wrote books and papers and analyses. They tried to understand how a primitive species had defeated one of the most powerful military forces in known space. They came to one conclusion. It was not human technology, though that had been shockingly advanced. It was not human tactics, though those had been brutally effective. It was something else. Something harder to define. Humans did not know when to quit. They did not understand that some battles were unwinnable. When faced with extinction, they did not despair. They got angry. And when humans got angry, they became the most dangerous species the galaxy had ever seen. A saying spread across the stars. It was spoken in 1,000 languages on 100,000 worlds. It became a warning and a proverb and a lesson. Never corner a human. They invented revenge. On Earth, the memorial walls grew. Names were carved. Flowers were placed. Tears were shed. 17 million people had died. Nothing could bring them back. Nothing could undo the pain. But humanity had survived. More than survived. They had risen. They had taken their place among the stars. And they had sent a message that would echo through the galaxy for 1,000,000 years. We are humanity. We are small, but we are mighty. We are fragile, but we are fierce. We mourn our dead, but we do not break. We forgive when we can, but we never forget. And if you come for us, we will show you why the universe should be afraid of the creature that learned to make fire, that walked on its moon, that looked at the stars and refused to accept that it was alone. We are humanity, and we are just getting started.